I have been anticipating Ali X's Cape God for a little while now, ever since I heard Rings a Bell at the end of last year, and also her previous work, her EPs and stuff like that, the occasional singles that she's released, I found to be very enjoyable. She isn't exactly gaining that much hype or momentum, but I do think she's one of the more exciting, emerging pop artists at the moment. Definitely one of those I think deserves a little bit more attention than she's currently getting. I suppose she doesn't have a particular brand at the moment that manages to elevate her success in the way that, someone like Lana Del Rey does. Ariana Grande has it as well. Billie Eilish. These artists have this like aesthetic, this personality that manages to draw people in, and that's cool and all. But I think the image of an artist is nowhere near as important as the music that the artist is making, and Ali X is making good music. I'm not even afraid to say that I enjoy this album here more than those recent albums from the artists I just named there, and even other examples too from mainstream pop artists. I quite like what Ali X is doing on this one. I think tracks like Sarah Come Home is fantastic. I think the chorus on this track is so fucking good, and yet the concept of the song, the lyrical theme running through it, is ridiculously simple. I read in an interview that she had, I think, where she was saying that there was an artist who worked on Katy Perry's Dark Horse, and her name was Sarah something, I don't know her surname, and she was meant to come into the studio and work on a song with Ali X here, but she never turned up. She was never able to do the song with her. So Sarah, the titular character in this song, is that Sarah, and she just wrote a song about that. I think it's such a random thing to write a song about, but it's so simple and it doesn't really need anything more than that. And when the chorus is this infectious and killer as it is, I can't really say no to it. Regulars is another one of the highlights on this album. It's got that Lorde, pure heroine angst to it, in the sense that, she's an outsider. She doesn't really fit in with the rest of the crowd. It's a bit like I'm not like other girls type shit, but I think she's self-aware enough to sell it, and it also has this like sarcastic energy to it as well, where she's not exactly being totally serious with referring to people as regulars. And I think it is relatable for some people out there who don't necessarily always manage to find crowds that they fit into. And I think the fact that Ali X is in her 30s, I believe, reminds me of how Carly Rae Jepsen tends to write her songs for like that teen audience, that kind of hopeless romanticism, if you will. But of course, she's well into her 30s too. With that being said, though, there are some really weaker moments which don't necessarily fit into this album very well, which I found a bit odd. Not entirely sure how the super duper party song thing fits this album, really. I think the beat is killer to begin with, though, that knife-esque, like heavy synth booming instrumental is really, really impressive. But then the chorus hits and I'm just like, what? It's such a strange chorus, sucks everything out of the song. Just an odd moment for the album that doesn't even fit. Like the placing of it on the album too, like why does it come after that little duet that she's got with Troye Sivan? And then right after that, you got the absolutely killer duet with Mitski. I think this is one of the best tracks here as well. What a great track this one is. Their voices work really nicely together. I think the way Ali X is singing on the verse too totally reminds me of Rina Sawayama and that Shamia song that was on the EP. That little duet they had. This is very reminiscent for some reason. I'm not entirely sure. I think it is the vocals, but even still, it's a great one. After this, I don't necessarily feel like you get the strongest of endings, because I think the beginning of this album is incredibly strong, with that little 5-track run to start with. All of the best songs really appear here, I would say. But they're still pretty decent tracks to close things off. I just think there was something about this album initially that got me thinking, wow, this is gonna be something fucking great, but it just didn't quite deliver the whole way through. As nice as June Gloom is, not really rushing to hear that one again. It is a lovely track, but there's something about it that's just not luring me in, whereas Rings a Bell, I just want to play on repeat because it's so damn catchy. However, she is still out here giving us some really good pop music, Just not quite the great album I was hoping for, but again, some really, really strong highlights here. And you should definitely check it out if you haven't already listened to Ali X previously. 7 out of 10 from me. Hopefully you like this album as much as I do. Let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you for watching my review. Have a good day. Subscribe if you haven't already. I keep doing this, don't know why. Goodbye.